You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here is your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
Well, good Wednesday morning, everybody. I am Glenn the Geek in Ocala, Florida.
And I'm Jamie Jennings, and I'm in Norman, Oklahoma. You're listening to Horses in the Morning on the Horse Radio Network for Wednesday, August 28th, episode 3507. Good morning, horse people.
Ah, Wednesday, the day we cover Glenn's favorite topic, horse health. And Jamie makes you feel better about yourself with the latest weird news from around the world. Let's go! Happy Wednesday!
Well, thank you for joining us, everybody, on this Wednesday morning. We have a good show planned for you today. Eventer Boyd Martin held an adult day camp, and we have one of the attendees with us. Sarah Williams is here to tell us all about it. I think it was his first one he did like this, from what I read.
I want to just hang out with Boyd no matter what, so I'm so jealous.
Samantha Couper of Equine Behavior Services gives us some tips on moody mares. And do we have any weird news?
Yeah, there's some weird stuff happening. It's weird.
All right, we'll do that later on in the show. And in the Auditor Post Show, we're going to talk about foods that have gone out of style. And we got some help from the auditors on that one. Hey, just to get in on the Taylor Swift craze, Taylor Swift's boyfriend was in the news twice yesterday. You know,
what did he do now?
Isn't it? You know, poor Travis Kelce used to be known as a star Super Bowl winning quarterback, and now he's Taylor Swift's boyfriend. That's the first
Is
thing.
he a quarterback? I didn't even know that.
I don't even know if he is a quarterback. I don't know it either. I'm not a big football fan.
It says he's a tight
end
end here.
Okay, sorry, everybody. I know he gets paid lots of money. So the Kansas City Chiefs.
We're total football fans here. We live and die by the sport.
Well, Travis Kelce has joined the ownership of the 3-year-old thoroughbred gelding Swift Delivery, a winner of his last 2 starts at Woodbine Racecourse. Swift Delivery is trained by a trainer called Mark Cassie, and he will be making his stakes debut at the Toronto Cup at Woodbine August 31st. So
Travis Kelce bought into a horse that was already winning?
Yes.
I mean, that's the way to do it.
I think probably because of the name Swift Delivery. I think probably because of the name.
I didn't even put that together.
Yeah, it's going to make sense.
Sorry.
Plus, I'm going to make you really sick this morning. Jason and Travis Kelce, that's he and his brother. They have this podcast they've been doing for a while called New Heights. And it's a weekly podcast that the 2 footballers do. And it's very popular. So popular, get this, that Amazon's Wondery, that's like a podcast network, just bought the podcast and the rights to sell ads to it for $100 million over a 3-year contract.
I mean, they're halfway to what we make, so.
God. So, yeah, they're not making enough playing professional football. There you go.
Yeah, the Wondery I've seen, like on a lot of podcasts I listen to, like, hey, you can get this exclusive like 3 days early if you subscribe to Wondery. And so it's a podcast network you actually pay for. Unlike ours, which is free.
Run by Amazon. Although I want to say to the world, Amazon Wondery, if you're listening, we would happily join you guys. Just saying.
Yeah.
We'll take $10 million. We're not even that expensive. We'll come down.
We'll do it.
Yeah. We'll gladly be there. All right, let's do some Daily Whinnies. Well, I have no auditor birthdays, believe it or not. So Caldera, that's our horse. That's the one that a bunch of the Horse Radio Network listeners bought into with myracehorse.com. We got an update yesterday. We haven't talked about this horse much. Breezed yesterday morning at Oak Ridge Farm. Now, you'll have to tell me if this is good, because you used to breeze racehorses. I have no idea. Covering 3 furlongs in 38.52 and a half mile in 52 flat. Is that good?
You know, I'm not familiar with what the 3 furlongs work is, but they wouldn't have pushed him really hard. It was his first breeze. So he's been at a training farm. I follow him too, because I'm also an owner of him. So he's been he is at a farm where they've just been bringing him along and getting him fit. They bought him in the 2-year-old and training sale. So he was like really running it too. And they give him a huge break. I think they had to do like a chip removal. And so he's getting back into running. And so the Dave Scanlon, the farm trainer, said it was like a walk in the park. So he is doing really well, and he is heading towards going up to be with Dwayne Lucas. So I'm excited. Go Caldera.
We're finally seeing some action on that one. And I know about 50 of our listeners bought into that particular horse. So
some of us might have bought into a few more, but we're not going to talk about that right now.
Your husband's there, isn't he?
Move on. Thank God he can only hear half this show. I'm really glad because I have headphones on. He can't hear what you say. My daily Whinnie, I have two. First of all, I'm not sure if you remember this story, Glenn, but one of our listeners, April, who lives in Texas, it was at the time I was looking for a horse to take over for Duke, and she found this old carriage horse. He was half Percheron, half standardbred, and he'd been in Corpus Christi, Texas, like pulling the carriages in the heat of the summer, and he retired. He was up for sale. And so it was close to her, and she had sent me the ad, and I was like, go see him. Maybe he'll work out. I mean, he's been a carriage horse. He's seen a ton of stuff. Nothing's going to bother him. And all I need to do is pony baby horses off of him. That's all he needs to do. So she went and saw him, and she's like, oh, he's a mess. And I was like, does he need me? And she's like, yes, he needs you. So she bought him and then brought him to me here in Oklahoma. And I had him for several months, and as he got healthier, he decided to let me know how much he hates every other horse. Like, do not bring, it was like a mare with a giant bubble. You know what I mean? Like he wanted, you would walk by a horse just in his stall. He'd be happily eating, and he would like launch out to like bite the horses and walk by.
That's perfect for a pony horse.
And I was like, this is not my baby pony horse. But now I've got this giant standardbred. Well, she lives on a very, very, very large ranch in Texas. And so she took him back, and I've started some of her big, she has draft horses. So, and they're all mares. So his favorite thing is to just go out in the field and be left alone. He didn't really like people, bless his heart. He didn't really like other horses. He didn't like anything. Well, yesterday she found him, and he was really old. And by the way, blind in one eye, which we didn't know. And so like there was a whole lot of stuff going on with him. So we spent a lot of money getting his teeth sorted out and getting his health right. Then once he couldn't do the job, she offered to take him back. And so we've been co-parenting together down at her ranch. And yesterday, Jack, in his infinite Jackness, laid down in the pasture and passed away. Oh. And she called me last night, and she was just beside herself upset. And I was like, girl, first of all, you gave him the best time of his life. He didn't have to work. He didn't have to do anything but like hang out. And it's just like, but I didn't get to say goodbye. And I was like, he wouldn't have wanted you to say goodbye. He did exactly what he wanted to do, which was be left alone and leave him alone. So anyway, that is kind of like the full circle story of that horse. And my heart goes out to April because she was just so upset. And I think she thought I was going to be upset. And I'm like, girl, that's the best way for a horse like that. He just laid down and didn't wake up. Like, come on, that's as beautiful and poetic as it can get, you know?
That's how I want to go. So thank you very much.
Right? Same. I'm just going to go out in the pasture and take a nap, and y'all find me later. But
well, rest
anyway,
in peace, Jack. He was old too, wasn't he? He was old.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He was. It's the whole thing about like, you know, don't believe what people tell you. And I'll tell you why. Because what?
On Jack, though, he died loved.
Oh God, he died loved. He died respected. Yep. He died in his own element. And it's just like, to me, and April is just, she's so upset. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like this was the perfect, most poetic, beautiful ending for a big horse like that. Like he lived in a field with giant, big women. Like, I mean, they're all Clydesdales and Percherons in his field, all these big women. And he just laid down by a creek in the shade and died. Like, I mean, how better of a way for a horse like that to go? I mean, no drama, no nothing, just I'm out. Like, and that's very much him. Like, I'm just going to do this on my own. I don't want any of you near me. And so April, much love to you. Thank you so much for doing what you did. On a side note, as she called me, I was horse shopping. Glenn, I went horse shopping last night.
Oh no.
You never know if you see something. And so there was a post put up on the Oklahoma horses for sale mess of a Facebook page. And I saw it and I was like, oh, I'm going to message this guy. So it was all you could see was a bay horse tied to a fence. And he looked really pretty. And I was like, oh, and he ties apparently. So I'm always looking for horses for my friend that owns the ranch in Colorado, and always looking for quarter horses for them. So I was like, oh, I'll message him. How old is he? He's 8. What do I say? They always say they're 8. Everybody always says the horse is 8. So I go, okay, cool. How tall is he? And he wrote back 6.5 feet. Okay.
Did you get your calculator now?
So he's 6.5 feet tall. He is, and I said, what breed is he? And he's like, he's quarter horse and something. And I was like, okay, this is going to be another DNA test we get to do. And so I was like, you know what? He's like 45 minutes away. Let's go. So I Google where he lives. And I was like, oh, that doesn't look like a nice part of town. So I asked around. They're like, no, that is not a nice part of town. So what do? I'm going to go look at this horse. Doesn't matter. It's fine. It's going to be fine. I hook up the trailer because I'm not going there twice. And I take my friend Ginger. So my other daily Whitney goes out to Ginger because Ginger is a redhead who speaks fluent Spanish. And this guy clearly speaks English as a second language. Ginger also has a concealed carry permit. So
along with 3/4 of Oklahoma.
Yeah, exactly. But she's the perfect person to take somewhere where it might not be super safe. So we hop in the car last night and the guy's like, I got off work at 7. So we drive out there at 7:00 and I'm driving and I'm like, oh God. Oh, I didn't even know this place existed where I was. It was some sort of like there's just trash everywhere. It was like people had 2-acre farms with like 600 sheep on them, and like 9 horses, I was driving around. I'm like, oh God. How is this any of this legal? I can't believe this is happening. And so I've got the map and the GPS and we pull up to this place and I'm like, this can't be it. And Ginger goes, there's the horse. And I was like, excuse me. And I have pictures. Because I snuck pictures because I don't know if anybody would believe me. So it's a field, sort of. It's woods, basically, that people have dumped cars and trucks and roofing equipment and cinder blocks and the tin that goes on the top of roof that just piles that laying in the field. There is.
Because that's not sharp.
Oh, I showed my vet this morning the picture. She's like, I can't. I was like, I'll stop. Because
she sees it all the time.
She's a performance horse vet. She doesn't see stuff like this. And so I'm like, oh my God. And so there's the horse on the far side. And so this guy comes out.
This
really
was Scooter,
nice.
Right? This was the Scooter where I found Scooter.
But these horses there was 2 of them and they're both fat.
Oh, okay.
And
well, that's
healthy.
good.
So that's good. And he had told me, he was like, and English was not his first language either, but he was very pleasant and very nice. And we went out to see this horse and he's like, okay. And he goes to catch him. And I was like, what do you want me to do? Because he told me he's hard to catch. And he was like, just wait right there. And he goes out in his truck and gets a lasso. I was like, oh God. Oh no. So he pins him in the corner, tosses the rope over his neck. And by the way, the horse has at this point bolted across the roofing equipment and cinder blocks and over the hood of the car. One of the cars, there's 6 cars out there and the horses run for 10 minutes. And I'm like, oh my God, he's going to die right now, as we're here. And the guy ends up roping him. And once he gets the rope on him, the horse goes calm. Okay, I'm caught. I'm caught. So he hands me the rope and he's like, I gotta go. I'll be back. Sorry, what? I am in a field and in the woods with all this stuff everywhere. And the guy just hands me a horse with a rope around his neck, a lasso around his neck. And so Ginger went back to the car where he found the rope, rummaged through the car that was parked in the field, by the way, really bad ad style with 0 tires sunk down, and she's like, I found a halter and a rope. And I was like, bring it. So she comes over and I'm like a wild Mustang having to put this rope on this horse. Now, let's go back to how tall this horse was.
Yeah, well, I calculated it, and it should have been 16.2, according to the...
Okay.
Yeah.
He was 14.1.
6.5 feet at the top of the ears.
And the other half of him, Glenn?
Yeah.
Quarter horse, do you want to guess what the other half is?
Of 13.2.
Paso Fino.
Oh.
He was Paso Fino.
I thought you meant the front end was one size and the back end was a different size.
No, I couldn't touch his face because he's basically feral. Like, this is a feral 14 hand Paso Fino quarter horse in this nightmare of a field, like of a environment.
Jennifer, Jamie has the perfect gaited horse for you.
Now, you are thinking clearly you bought this horse because that is what you do.
Oh, I don't think you would have bought a Paso Fino.
I did definitely not buy this Paso Fino quarter horse cross. However, the guy comes back. Eventually, I let the horse go, and I'm like, I like, there's no tack. There's no, like, he said the horse was rideable. I'm clearly not getting on a horse that he just roped and handed me the rope and left. And so he comes up, and again, super nice guy, like super nice. And he did speak good English, just not great English. And he was like, just so you know, I don't know anything about horses. I was like, that was apparent. And I said, okay. He was like, but I really need to sell him. I thought I'd have time, but I don't have time. And I'm not doing his voice. I'm just going to say it the way that I heard it, which is, I don't have time for this horse. And I bought him from my dad and both these horses, and I need to sell them both. And so what do you think? And I was like, well, I mean, he's definitely not 6.5 feet tall. By the way, horses aren't, he was like, well, how tall is he? And I was like, he's 14.1. And he was like, what does that mean? Okay.
So he had no idea.
Well, a hand is 4 inches. This is how you measure horses. You don't measure horses in feet, measurement, and literally had a 35-minute discussion on
you should have never
horsemanship
went there.
with this guy. I felt, I mean, obviously I don't want to leave these horses in this field. So I think the best thing he could do is to sell these horses. So I consulted with him on how to sell, and I have written him a sale ad and am sending it to him this afternoon. Because like these horses need to get out of there. And again, he's just in a pickle of like, I bought these horses and I don't know what to do with them. They're all fat. They had round bills. They had fresh water. Like, I wasn't concerned about their health or anything like that. But clearly these horses need to get out of there. So I've written him a sale ad, and I consulted with him on like, okay, obviously you need some better pictures and videos, because the one picture you had was him snubbed to a fence. And the video he sent me was the horse in like one of those like Mexican like correction bit things, lunging him with the lunge line tied to the bit, and there's nowhere to lunge him. So he's like in a 5-meter circle around this guy, like loping, trying to run away. $1,500. And he was like, do you think that's a fair price? And I was like, dude, I would take what you could get. Like, seriously, like if someone makes you an offer, I was like, you know, cool. Like, and the other one was also a Paso Fino, but she was a mare, gray, super cute. They're feral, like they're wild. You have to rope them. Disaster. And I was holding the rope around his neck, and the guy walks off, and I was like, Ginger, I think if I wanted to take this horse and put him in the trailer, we could. I said, but I don't think we'd ever get him on the trailer. He doesn't even lead. So I told the guy, I was like, if you could just video him and like take him outside, and there's a little road, walk him up and down the road, ride him up and down the road, whatever you do, get a video of that. Let's post it. We'll sell him. You know, I think we could sell him as a package deal. I'm like, I'm going to write you an ad. I'm going to help you out. Like, you need some help. But I was like, wow, this is, and so I talked to Larissa this morning. I texted her the pictures of the place and all the things. And she was like, how did Ginger let you go to Spencer, Oklahoma? Like, did you want to die? Like, she was like, I wouldn't go there. I was like, I'm not from here. I don't know where not to go. Nobody tells me anything. All I know is there's a horse that's 45 minutes away that was for sale for $1,500, and it was a quarter horse, and I could help it. And,
well, you're still here this morning, so nobody shot at you.
Nobody shot. Everything was fine, but it was so cute. Like, so so I've been bitten by a lot of dogs, and I am not a fan of giant dogs running up to me. Like, call me crazy, but like there were roving packs of dogs, Glenn. Like packs of dogs. And this is when I realized that Ginger loves me, is because at one point, we were standing outside waiting for the guy to unchain the gate that is attached to a stick of wood because he pulls it across, like not a fence, like not nothing. And this giant pack of dogs sees us on the street and comes running towards us. I was like, oh God, oh God. And Ginger literally lifts me up and puts me on the other side and jumps between me and the pack of dogs. And she's got her hand on her purse. And I'm like, you love me. You just saved me from the wild pack of dogs. She's like, I know how you get. I don't want to have this drama.
Glad you're back alive. And I'm glad you do this kind of stuff for the show. I really appreciate it.
I do this for you, Glenn.
I'll be sure to thank your husband too for allowing you to.
He was a really big fan of this whole
I bet he
endeavor.
Because he does know where that is.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad you didn't get shot at, and I'm glad the dogs didn't eat you right there.
It worked out fine. Everything's fine. I'm going to help him with the horse.
Okay. Well, that's very generous, by the way. Very generous. All right. We're going to hear from, we're going to talk a little bit about State Line Tack and go to our first guest. Well, head on over to statelinetack.com. In the past, I've talked about the giveaways that they do. They give away more products than even we do. And they have right now going on the top 3 winners of the giveaway for this month will receive an Ariat outfit valued at over $1,200. The grand prize pack includes men's and ladies' Ariat jacket, footwear, and 2 pairs of jeans. It's one of those really cool blue Ariat jackets with the Ariat on the arm. And then, of course,
I'm going to enter right now.
I mean, everybody knows their boots, so I mean, I don't have to explain that. So yeah, head on over there right now. Top 3 winners will receive the prize pack. So that's something you want to sign up for, and keep an eye on that because it changes all the time. Also, I noticed on their homepage right now they have a whole bunch of English and Western products that they're highlighting that are coming in for the fall. It's time for the fall products. They just had Wisa and Ada, so the fall products will be arriving. Winter blankets will be coming in soon. So all of that you want to check out today at statelinetack.com. So our first guest is coming up, and her name is Sarah Williams, and she attended the Boyd Martin Clinic, and Jamie is so excited to talk to her.
I'm pleased to welcome our first guest to this show. She was referred to us by a listener named Melanie, and Melanie is friends with Sarah, and Sarah got to do what every girl dreams of, which is go hang out and go to adult summer camp with Boyd Martin. Hey, Sarah.
Hey.
Oh my gosh. Tell us about Windurra Camp. First of all, what is Windurra Camp?
Windurra Camp was amazing. It was a week-long camp with Boyd and Silva Martin, and then they brought in 2 additional trainers, Anna Buffini and to help with the training throughout the week. So it was an eventing camp open to riders of all levels of eventing. And it was really just a week of intensive training with all of those trainers. And they also had different speakers and seminars like saddle fitting, nutrition. They had a vet come and talk as well. So definitely a very immersive, intensive experience.
So to paint a picture of kind of like a day in the life of camp.
Each day, the riders had 2 rides, and we were split into groups by level. So typical day, would get to the farm at around 6 in the morning, and, feed horse, get ready. And then typically there would be a session, whether that was yoga or physio or something else in the morning. And then we would have breakfast and either a chat or some kind of demonstration during breakfast after that. So we got to see, for example, Bruno's first jump school coming back from Paris one morning, which was really awesome. And then we would get ready for our first ride of the day, whether that was dressage training or jumping. And then we would have lunch, which would typically have one of the educational talks. And then in the afternoon, you would have a second ride, and then dinner would be provided most evenings, not every evening. And then sometimes there would also be something educational in the evening as well. And then one evening we went over to Philip Dutton for a farm tour and talk with him too.
Oh, wow. Amazing. So basically you stay at a hotel, then you show up at the farm at 6. Did everybody brought their own horse?
Everybody did bring their own horse. Yeah.
Was it is this a camp more for beginners or like upper level event riders?
I think the sweet spot for this camp seemed to be kind of that like lower to middle of the pack. I think, I don't recall there being any at the intermediate or advanced level at this camp. So, I was in the starter and below group, and I really got a lot out of the clinic. And I think some of the bigger groups were starter and below through novice.
Okay. So Boyd coached you. You got coached by Peter. You got coached by Silva. Like you got to turn with everybody.
My group, because we were so low level, I think we didn't get a turn with Peter, but we got a turn with everybody else. So we rotated through. And so I got more exposure to Boyd jumping wise since I didn't have a lesson with Peter.
Gotcha. So, for those who watch any of Boyd's fun, exciting videos that he posts online, did he an ice bath?
We actually did not do an ice bath. And many of us, I was hoping for an ice bath, but we did not actually get to engage in that.
Got you. Yeah. That's one of the things that he does, Glenn, is he takes ice baths and he makes green smoothies and he's like super crazy healthy. So a lot of a lot of it was kind of like lifestyle stuff too, or just riding?
There was a lot of the lifestyle stuff too. Like we had, we did a sound bath. We did breathing exercises, yoga, physio exercises. So a lot of the lifestyle things were incorporated first thing in the morning for sure.
What is one thing that he said over and over? Like every trainer kind of has like a saying that they use. What are some of the things that he said all the time?
Oh gosh, all the time. I mean, oh, that's great, mate. Give it a go, mate. And it was, especially for me being on a greener horse and being kind of a more timid rider, that just to give it a go was always really encouraging if I was hesitant about something.
Gotcha. That's cool. So you did this Windurra camp. Can I ask, is it rude to ask how much it cost?
It was $4,000 for riders and $1,000 for auditors for the week.
Oh, cool. So, and then they provided dinner some of the nights. And so you got a hotel, you'd leave for lunch and you come back and go back to work.
So lunch was provided. We had breakfast and lunch were provided every day, which is really handy because we would not have had time to leave with everything that was going on. That schedule was packed. And then a few of the nights they provided dinner. I think there was maybe like 1 or 2 nights that we were on our own for dinner, and housing for the horses was provided. And then we were on our own for lodging for people.
Gotcha. That's worth it. I mean, he just got back from the Olympics, for God's sakes.
What kind of coaching style does he have in these for the week?
So his coaching style, I really enjoyed because he was really encouraging and really positive. I mean, obviously he offered feedback and corrections when we needed them, but it wasn't, I never felt like he was going to yell at me or, anything like that. I really enjoyed his coaching and just how he helped kind of work through things with the horses, like especially with my green horse. He did get on him once on cross country when I was having a hard time, and that was really helpful. And I think that really helped him, kind of tailor some of the coaching to us, realizing some of the challenges that I was having just because my horse was so green.
Oh my God, Boyd Martin sat in your saddle? Oh my God.
He did.
He rode your horse? It's okay. It's okay, Sarah.
Yep.
I'm with you, girl. I'm with you. No, that's fantastic. So if people want to go, would you say it was a yes, definitely, yes, or like a yes, okay, or how would you rate it?
Oh, I would say definitely. I got so much out of this week just from the repetition of all of the coaching and all of the lessons. I think really helped solidify everything that I was learning. So definitely got a lot more out of that experience than I would from, say, a clinic, because we were able to build on what we learned earlier in the week. And I noticed that kind of about, back to your earlier question about his coaching style, a lot of the lessons built on the previous one, which I found to be really beneficial.
So if I tell people when they go to conferences and stuff or, any kind of big event, take one thing away that you can take action on immediately. What's your one thing?
I think for me, my one thing is continue doing what I'm doing with my green horse. I think this is really a good confirmation that taking things slow with him, letting him figure things out and continuing to build that foundation is really important for his development. And then also just recognizing that I actually am a good rider, which I sometimes, and just the whole camp really helped solidify confidence in my own abilities and give me a lot of good takeaways for continuing to build my horse's foundation.
Wow, what a fun experience. How cool.
Jamie, I am doing the over-under at 3 years. She'll be at Rolex Defender, Kentucky.
I mean, obviously, your horse was ridden by Boyd Martin.
Yeah, you're ready.
He's basically ready already.
Sarah, thank you for joining us. This has been fun to hear about this.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks, Sarah.
And good luck with this green horse. You'll be there in 3 years, I promise.
What's your horse's name so we can cheer for you when you go on a horse trial?
His name is Magic Train. He's a thoroughbred.
Magic Train.
My favorite
I like
kind. Magic Train. I like that too.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
This Horse Health Report is brought to you by Daily Dose Equine, non-GMO core nutrition for horses and ponies of all ages. Well, something happened in our auditor room. One of our terrific listeners named Taylor has these mares that she's been dealing with, and apparently they're real jerks to each other out in the field and everywhere, basically. And she's talked in the auditor room about her mares before, and then she did a post last week saying, I talked to this woman, and she's helped me with my mares. They're much better now. And I said, well, then we have to talk to that woman, too. And her name is Samantha Couper of Equine Behavior Services. Hi, Samantha.
Hello.
So, Samantha, what part of the country are you in?
So I am currently in Yakima, Washington.
Oh, wow. Okay. Out there.
Which is in central Washington, for those who aren't familiar.
All the way out west. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. What is Equine Behavior Services?
So basically, anytime people are experiencing sort of problem behavior, so if the horse is biting them, biting another horse, bucking them off, basically I'll come in and we talk to them about different sort of environmental changes that we can do. A lot of the times, many behavioral issues are actually just related to those things that are in the environment. And then we can also talk to them about different things that they can retrain, et cetera. We work with veterinarians, we work with saddle fitters, et cetera, to try and get to the bottom also if there might be pain present. And so that's sort of our job, is to sort of head all of this and use knowledge of things like neuroscience and pathology to try and get at the root of these problem behaviors and really help owners and horses reconnect and get back on the same page.
Well, I know Taylor does not live in Washington, so she apparently sent you a video. So you can do this remotely too, I assume, because she sent you a video, right?
Yes. Sometimes, yes. So in really extreme cases, I much prefer to be on site, right, because we want to make sure that we can guide the owners more directly. But in cases like this, where a lot of the techniques can be done pretty easily by the owner, videos can be sent, and then what I'll do is I'll continue to coach them throughout the month. So I'll ask for, okay, we got a video of this behavior. Can you set up this scenario or record this scenario? And then I'll voice over that and say, all right, let's adjust this or that to try and help guide them as closely as I can without actually being there in person.
And
what are some, yeah. I'm sorry, Glenn, what are some extreme cases that you would be like, oh, this is when I need to go?
I think a lot of cases where there's really high aggression towards people is one where I really want to be there in person. Or if we have extremely bad, like say a trailer loading problem where a horse has taken off a trailer door or gone backwards and hurt someone. Anytime a horse has hurt an individual, I'm really leaning towards wanting to be there in person, just because the chances of having that happen again are high. And I want to make sure to mitigate that as much as possible. And so I want to be there in person to really help step in anytime I see something that might be potentially a dangerous issue.
Glenn, I mean, listening to this, and I'm like, this is what I do. I mean, so I'm a trainer. I train horses, but this is like so many times people message me with behaviors, and I'm like, send me a video. So you're actually trained in this to do this.
Yeah, so it's similar to training. There is some overlap. So one of the big differences is that we tend to focus initially more on environmental concerns. as opposed to direct training concerns, because a lot of these behaviors will stem out from just not having horses' needs met. Right. And we really want to work in the beginning directly with veterinarians, especially if we go up and we see something that might look like pain. And so that's what we're kind of tackling first, is that sort of environmental problem. And then we might help the owner retrain. I mean, a lot of what we do, of course, is not actually doing the training ourselves. We want to set the owner up to be able to do it. But in some cases where we say, okay, this horse actually needs a retrained behavior, we've gotten past a lot of these sort of pitfalls where the horse has a trauma response, et cetera, then we might say, do you have a trainer you really like? And we'll work with that trainer themselves. That way, the owner is able to stay consistent with the people that they're already using. So it's similar. There is overlap. But yeah, if we're talking about we want the horse to be able to spin, or they're no longer afraid of the trailer, we just need to teach them how to step up onto it, then at that point, I'll probably reach out to a trainer and get them the rest of the way there.
So, one of the things that attracted me to talking to you was over the years, and it's pretty common, we've been doing this for 14 years, and everybody knows that mares are not Jamie's favorite. And to be honest, we haven't owned a lot of them either over the years. But yet, a lot of our listeners love mares. So, but we all know about Marish mares, right? That Marish behavior, which is why Taylor got to you in the first place. So are there any tips you can give people who are dealing with mares? And let's say that I think in her case, they had to be out together. So it wasn't a matter of you could separate them.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I would tell people is actually that a lot of the times mares are sort of given these sort of labels that they have a marish behavior.
Oh, no, they're definitely given those labels. There's no question, Samantha. They're given those labels.
Yeah,
and I might have participated in that a little bit.
Well, yeah, I think we all have. There's all those jokes and memes, right? That go all about the internet. So, and especially if you're a new horse owner, it's hard to get past that because someone has told you, oh, this is a mare-specific problem, when in fact it may just be a horse behavior problem. And there's actually a really good webinar on a website called Understand Horses. There's a woman who's a veterinary behaviorist, and she goes in depth into understanding mare behavior problems. So if anyone wants to check that out, that's a great place to start, I think, if people are thinking that they have a mare-specific behavior. But in general, I think, obviously get your vet out first. Rule out that this isn't something to do with hormones, et cetera, that is specific to the mare. And then once you've kind of ruled out that it's mare specific, okay, now it's horse specific. And so at that point, you can start to tackle it just like another horse rather than having to worry so much about it being specific to a mare, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It does. I was thinking, what are some of the most common environmental red flags that you see?
Honestly, and this was the case in this particular instance as well, food locations is one of the big things that we can change right off the bat. It's really easy for owners to do. Owners will often put food in corners or up against fences, right? In these places where horses are forced to be restricted together. Right?
Guilty.
Yep. It's convenient for us,
yes.
Right? It's so much easier to throw a hay inside a bag.
I'm a horse husband. We like convenience, right? Samantha.
Yes, absolutely. And so my job is to try and figure out, how do I keep it convenient for you, but also put it in a better position for the horses? And it's not easy. And a lot of times it comes down to sitting down with the owner and brainstorming, what do you have time for? How can we adjust this? And I give them the perfect scenario. Like if I could go in and you had 1 million hours, this is what we would do. Let's get as close to this as possible.
And in,
gotcha.
In this case, it's is it just separating it? Is it just distance, or are you doing other things too to keep them separated during feeding time out in the field? Let's say they're turned out 24/7.
So that's going to depend on the type of food source and how the horses interact with each other. If we're seeing really extreme aggression around a hay source, yeah, initially I may in fact have those horses separated for that feeding time. Supplement delivery where you've got a higher quality food in terms of the horse's perspective, or something like grain, then yeah, likely a separation is going to be recommended, at least in the beginning, until we can kind of set up better behaviors. But a lot of times if people are on something like 24/7 hay, then it's really just about getting those hay sources out of corners and opening it up so that the horses are basically, each hay source is 4 horse lengths apart. So essentially when the horses are butt to butt, you still have some room between them. so that they can kick out and not actually make contact with each other. And that's a huge one. And so, if there's 24/7 hay and those horses don't have major past experiences where they really feel the need to guard their food, then you can get away with just doing that change. But again, in more severe cases, you do want to separate, at least in the beginning, until you can develop some better behaviors.
Got it. And so,
is there any other, what's another red flag that you see? I mean, horses and food. Yeah, for sure. What else do you see something you're like, oh, that's a red flag.
Mm-hmm. So a huge one that I see is that, and this is, I mean, I'm guilty of this too. We're in a rush. We're going quickly. Those horses don't actually know what they're supposed to be doing while their food is getting prepared, while their food is getting delivered. And so I'm sure we have all seen the case where somebody has the bucket in their hand and they go to the horse's food bucket in the pasture and the horse just has their ears completely pinned back, right? They're not going after the owner, but that is clearly a behavioral indicator that they are uncomfortable. And a lot of that stems from food insecurity, from not knowing what they're supposed to do to obtain the food. So they are doing all these other things that they can to try and get to the food. And eventually that food ends up in the bucket. So they think, oh, maybe it was this time. But they stay really uncomfortable with it. And so if an owner is willing, and it takes time, unfortunately, but I will actually teach them how to train their horse using food training to do a specific behavior to get their food, whether it be going to the food in advance of the owner and waiting there, or basically backing up while the owner is putting the food in, just something so they have a thing to do, and that can really reduce that food insecurity. And that's definitely a big flag, at least in regards to food and animals. Because if a horse is feeling insecure and there's another horse nearby, they may do a thing called redirected aggression, where they take out their frustration at not getting the food on the animal next to them.
Got it. So what you
sounds like Glenn.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of get that way at food dinner time too. My pony certainly does. So you had mentioned a video or a webinar that somebody could go to. Could you restate that so that everybody can find it?
Yes. So you want to go to the website understandhorses.com. And they have, at the top, they have a little thing that says webinars, and you can click on that. And it's a past webinar. It was done in the past, but it's been recorded, and all of the questions people asked were there. It's done by Roxanne Curtin, who is a veterinary behaviorist, and the title is Bad Girls, ? Understand Mare Behavior Problems.
Got it. I love that. Well, that's good. It'll give somebody a resource to go to, and they can always go to your website too. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so my website is equineabcs.com.
And that's abcs.com, equineabcs.com. You can find Samantha there. Well, thank you for helping our friend Taylor out.
Yeah, she's been an absolutely wonderful client, and thank you for having me on today. It has been wonderful.
Well, Samantha was brought to you by Daily Dose Equine. Daily Dose Equine offers a full line of handcrafted horse feeds to maximize the health and performance of horses and ponies of all ages. Each custom feed has been developed with whole grains and non-GMO ingredients to eliminate the risk of herbicide contamination. They are horse people, and they have seen firsthand the difference that superior nutrition can render in our equine partners. At Daily Dose Equine, they never forget that natural is better and simplicity is key. Learn more at dailydoseequine.com. It's also available at Chewy and Tractor Supply.
As horse owners, we spend a lot of time on the road. Let US Rider help keep you covered. Our equestrian motor plan offers fast, reliable, nationwide service from our highly trained roadside assistance team. 24/7 coverage for both you and your horse. Membership includes horse trailer servicing, towing, flat tire repair, even on dual wheels, battery assistance, and lockout service on any vehicle in your plan. We also have your equine companions covered with referrals for emergency vet services, farrier referrals, and emergency stabling assistance. Get peace of mind on the road for you and your horse. Join US Rider today.
Time to learn why some days you're embarrassed to be part of the human race. In Jamie's Weird News.
That's right. This time of the week where I just tell you all the weird things that are happening all over the world. And most of these stories are sent in by you. That's right. If you're reading through your news and you're like, dude, That is super weird. Email it to me, Jamie@horseradionetwork.com, with weird news in the subject line, just like Laureen, Glenn, Rebecca, Karina, Debbie, Michelle, and Kathy all did just in the past week. And now, remember last week I told you about the shipment of celery that went to a farmer's market? It turned out to all be meth. Apparently that's a thing, like to ship vegetables. Somebody had a bunch of plastic bags that they had painted to look like watermelons, and that got shipped across the border. Oh yeah, they look like gross watermelon things. Anyway, they got caught, and then also
they deserve to get caught.
I'm giving you the drug stuff up front just because I'm going to get to the real story, which is in New Zealand, a charitable donation was made to like a food pantry, and it was candy, and there was meth in the candy. So a couple people got some and they were like, this tastes weird. And fortunately, nobody was injured, but some people had to go to the hospital. Now, Glenn, did you hear about the whole Graceland scheme that's going on?
Yeah, we talked about it. I thought that was over. We talked about it like last year where this company was trying to take Graceland away from the family, but they were bogus. They were like con artists or something. So yesterday, day before yesterday, or maybe a week ago, I don't know, 53-year-old Missouri woman was arrested. Her name is Elisa Janine Finley. She's facing charges of mail fraud and aggravated identity theft. Basically, she claimed that Lisa Marie Presley, Elvis's daughter, had used Graceland as a collateral for a $3.8 million loan from Nasani Investments and Private Lending, LLC. That's not real. Like, that's not a real place. She actually said that Lisa Marie never repaid it before her death, and she now needs $2.8 million from the Presley family to settle the rest of the debt. She also posted a foreclosure notice on Graceland claiming it was going to be auctioned off. Right. Like everything. Yeah, it was all fake. She did this whole thing and it wasn't even real. Now, the reason I wanted to tell you this. How did she think she was going to get away with it?
I don't know. People are stupid. Drugs are bad. But the numbers were astounding. Graceland is a 17,000 square foot mansion. Elvis lived there from 57 until he died in 77. No,
it is
I've been outside. I've seen
it's
the
so gates. 1970s. It's unbelievable.
It is. So, do you know what he paid for it in 1957?
Oh, it wasn't a lot. It was a couple $100,000, wasn't it?
$102,000.
And when you go there, it doesn't seem that big compared to like other celebrities' mansions. You know, it seems small actually.
17,000 square foot mansion on like 14 acres for $100,000. Do you know what it's worth now?
It's got to be $10 million.
$400 million is what it's worth. This is why I was like, I know I'm just covering this other thing, but like these numbers are astounding. That is a hell of an investment. Elvis, you did good, buddy. Great investment on property.
And she probably did it right after. Was it Lisa? It wasn't Lisa Marie. It was.
Yeah, Lisa Marie after she passed away.
Yeah, that's when she did it. Probably right after that.
Yeah. She's like, oh, she owed me money. Yeah. Okay.
God, that's a tough one to pull off, though.
I know, right?
Okay, she gets loser of the week. If I had the sound file, I'm just going to call her loser of the week.
American Airlines is in the news, Glenn. American Airlines. And we all know I love American because Chad is a pilot, my husband, for that airline. And I just thought that we should let you guys know what's going on because there was a couple in Las Vegas and they live there. It's a man, Eugenio Hernandez Garnier, and his wife. They went from Vegas to Miami to get surgery. Okay. So he went and got a hair transplant in Miami, and she got a boob job and liposuction. Okay. So the pictures. So they are leaving Miami and they board an American Airlines flight and sit down in their seats. Yeah. They might have want to wait a couple days. So he's sitting in a seat. His head is visibly bleeding. Like there's blood all over his head from his hair transplant. Like, I can see a picture. It's really gross. And he's got these bandages like on the backside of his head, but there's blood everywhere. And thank God American Airlines was like, you can't like be bleeding on a flight. Like, you can't. I have a doctor's note. Okay, you might, but you can't be bleeding into the plane. This is a problem, because the flight attendants, after seeing this is the article, the flight attendants told him to deboard after seeing his bloody head. He was then asked to clean up the blood and replace the bandages. Please, God, clean up the blood, replace the bandages. And he's like, I don't have any more. This is it. Well, American Airlines is like, we're concerned about body fluid contamination.
Yeah, no
like, it's really like, can you imagine seeing that head in front of you in a seat like the whole time? It's the top of his head. It's just, it's like blood running down his forehead, just dried like. So they were like, you need to go. And they were like, no, we're not leaving. I have a lot of pain. I have pain here and pain on my head, he said.
No kidding.
Yeah, we understand, but you need to go. And this is when the wife turns on her phone and starts live streaming onto TikTok.
Oh, no.
She says, you guys know I've got a breast lift and arm liposuction and I can't even hardly walk. Call 911 because we are being discriminated against and abused. No, you're bleeding all over an airplane. So they have to call the police. And they're like, the officer's like, if you don't get off, they're going to grab you and pull you off. And she just had underarm liposuction. Okay, so you don't want me to grab you by the arm because then that would be bad, okay? Because that was going to hurt. So she said that they were violating her rights and freaked out, and she was arrested. They were both arrested because they went to say the police spokesman in Miami-Dade County said this all could be avoided if they would just follow the commands or the requests of the officers to vacate the aircraft, because apparently she did not want to leave and she went down swinging. Like, it was a big fight.
God,
and again,
flight attendants, how much money do they make? It can't be enough. It
can't be enough. But see, what happens behind the scenes is like they'll be like a guy with a bloody head. And do you know what the flight attendants do?
Call the pilot.
Call the captain. They're like, hey, there's a guy in here with like a really bloody head, and it's gross, and he's trying to fly. And the captain will come out and speak to them like, hi, oh God, your head's really bloody. Yeah, you can't be on this flight. And then they'll be like, you need to go. And then that's when the captain goes back up and calls somebody. So it all comes from the captain, and these flight attendants just have to deal with whatever my D-bag husband says. And he goes back in there and closes that door probably.
Yeah. Locks the door. Let them deal with it.
It was not
They
him.
don't get paid enough. I don't care what it is. They don't get paid enough.
No. So there's a young lady. Her name is Samantha Couper. She's 49 years old and she lives in Kansas City. And she has been complaining about, like, when she lays down at night, she looks up at her roof and the roof has some damage. And she's called her super and she's like, my roof is like my ceiling in my room, it looks like it's like water damage or something is wrong with it. I need you guys to come fix it. And like nothing happened. Nobody would come and fix her roof. Well, she's still having to live underneath it. And so she lays down tonight, goes to go to bed, and kaboom! The ceiling collapsed. What made the ceiling collapse, Glenn?
I don't want to know.
Multiple.
I don't want to know.
You're understanding weird news. You don't want to know.
I don't want to know.
Multiple raccoons fell from the ceiling
Oh my God.
onto her in her bed, and then she reports that they attacked her. Yeah,
Yes,
because
they were.
they're like, what the hell just happened? And why are you in our bed? So multiple raccoons fell through the roof, landing on her and the bed. Havoc was wreaked. Craziness happened, and she is now suing. Although I don't think she's suing for enough. She said she suffered permanent injuries. She was hospitalized.
Well, mental injuries for sure. It's like
exactly. I never sleep again.
she's going to need therapy for life.
Yeah. She's suing for future past medical, hospital expenses, lost wages, diminished earnings, past and future distress, pain and suffering, mental anguish, disfigurement, and loss of enjoyment of life.
She put it all in there.
What do you think she's suing for, though?
$10 million.
25,000. I'm
that
like,
ain't
girl. That's not enough.
That's not enough.
I'd sue for more.
She had to have heard the in the ceiling.
I mean, good God. Could you imagine a family of raccoons falling on your stomach and head
and
while
that pissed the
you're asleep?
raccoons off because they blamed her.
They're mad.
That's right. You want more?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll give you this one real quick because this is another airline story. 36 flights were canceled and 201 flights were delayed at a Japanese airport. Why? Do you want to know why? Why don't you tell me why 36 flights were canceled and 200? What would you think would shut down an airport?
Japanese airport? I don't know. They're always so well run. I have no idea. The Japanese airport.
You would think like domestic terrorism or something.
Yeah, or a volcano.
Yeah. No. There's a little shop where you can get some like sundries and some items, and the people that work there, they lost their scissors.
So they had to search everyone?
They are missing scissors, and they shut down the entire airport and canceled 36 flights. Could you imagine sitting in an airport and being like, why is our flight delayed? Well, the guy that works at that shop over there can't find his scissors.
Oh, yeah. Do that in Atlanta and see what happens.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I couldn't imagine. All right, I got one more real quick.
Right.
So, they did find the scissors the next day.
Oh, yeah, shop. I bet they did. It's probably in the shop.
Yeah. All right, finally, real quick. A Simi Valley father, this is in Anaheim, California, he gave his daughter a ticket to Disneyland. In 1985, Scott King, I guess there was a celebration at Disneyland for its 30th anniversary. And as part of the celebration, every 30th guest received a prize. Okay. You walk through, oh, ding, ding, you're the 30th one. You get a prize. His prize was a free ticket to Disney World. Well, Disneyland. Cool. I got a ticket to Disneyland. Fantastic. I'm already at Disneyland. Can I just go in for free? No, that's for your next visit. So he's like, okay. So he went home. He doesn't ever go to Disneyland again until his daughter this past year was like, I want to go to Disneyland, but it's like crazy expensive. And he's like, you know what? I think I have a free ticket.
He kept it?
He goes in his scrapbook and he had kept the free ticket from 39 years ago, Glenn, and he pulls it out and he's like, here's a ticket. Do you know what it costs to get in Disneyland now?
Oh, it's
Tell
like
me.
$150. It's expensive.
Do you know what it cost in 1985?
$20.
$16.50. So he gave the ticket to his daughter and she shows up at Disneyland and they freaking honored the ticket.
Oh, how long did she have to wait to check in, though, to get that one approved?
Just take my money. Just somebody let me in. I just want to go ahead.
Wow, they honored it. There must have been an expiration date on it. So.
They went to they checked its validity. I'm sure they went through all sorts of stuff. It was called the golden ticket back then. And so they were like, 40 years ago, you guys had this promotion and I got this free ticket because it was the 30th anniversary. And I'm just going to want to go in because my dad gave it to me. He kept it in a scrapbook and then he found it and gave it to me. And so here I am. Oh, sure. Crazy woman. Golden ticket. I mean, they must have called somebody who's been working there. Do y'all Hey, Wilfred, do you remember a promotion they did back 40 years ago? Yeah, I think I was here for that. That's right. Apparently the goal.
You know what strikes me about that? Is that means next year 60.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
1955.
They were giving out every, this was 1985 was the 30th. So,
it's 70.
1985 was the 30th. So they were giving out prizes to every 30th person. Every prize wasn't a ticket. They were giving cars to some people, like Cadillacs. Like it depends. Apparently, when he walked through, they gave him the "I am a winner" badge, and he's like, "What did I win?" They're like, "You got a free ticket." He's like, "Can I have the Cadillac?"
Yeah, I ain't giving away Cadillacs anymore.
Stupid free ticket. I want the car. Anyway, there you go. That's your weird news for the week. If you see a weird news story, just email to me, jamie@horseradionetwork.com with weird news in the subject line.
All right. And we will be back here on Friday with some really bad ads. Get your ads into jennifer@horseradionetwork.com. We also have some prizes this month, so you don't want to miss out on those. So submit your ads. I noticed a couple came in in the last couple of days, so thank you for sending those. Also, auditors, hang on. We're going to do a short post show talking about the foods that are no longer popular, that were really popular when Jamie and I were growing up. So
you're like 100 years older
some
than me.
Some of them were more popular when I was growing up. Okay, I'll clarify that. And then I also asked the auditors to come up with their list of stuff that's out of style. So we'll find out what they had to say, too. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you to our guests. And Jamie, thank you for showing up right after your vet showed up to give all your horses their stuff. I appreciate it.
And I survived my horse shopping.
And you survived horse shopping. One piece. No bullet holes.
Wrong sound.
Oh, there. Let's do this one.
Spay